Commissioner Fellers,
Present.
Commissioner Heckler, Commissioner Hughes,
Present.
Commissioner Leeson,
Here.
Commissioner Long,
Here.
Commissioner Nichols,
Present.
Chairman Stewart,
Here.
Commissioner Watson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Shivers. I'd like to take a quick minute. I'm not sure we ever got formally introduced to Commissioner Frank Hughes. Why don't you tell a quick bit about yourself? I know you've been on this commission for probably 6 months. We haven't met for at least 4 of them. So
It's been a while. just
tell
about
us a bit about yourself, and then we'll move on to Mr. Nichols down there.
just about the time I was learning names myself, we adjourned for a while. Frank Hughes. I'm a electrical designer at the refinery, and I've lived here for 7 years now. I live in the outlying area by the lake, and I felt like that this is a damn good community that I wanted to be a part of and able to have some positive input in the progress of our city. So I was told about this opportunity and thought that it would be a real good service to the community, I hope.
Okay. Well, we're glad to have you. Thanks for being here. Tony Nichols, would you introduce yourself, please?
All right, I'm Tony Nichols, I'm a dentist here in town. Born in Wichita, but went to all the schools here. Only moved away for undergrad and that's it, I guess, graduate school. You always had plans of maybe moving away, but you get to live in other places and you realize where you're at, pretty good place after all. And like him, I was kind of told about this and thought it'd be a good place to serve. So I'm happy to be here.
All right, we're happy to have you. Thank you. All right. The rest of the faces are pretty familiar, up or down. So with that, let's move to item number 2, approval of the minutes. Did everyone have an opportunity to review the May 27th, 2021 minutes? As such, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Move to accept the minutes as printed.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 3, new business. Our first case tonight is case number 21-05-SUP, public hearing for the consideration of a request for a special use permit for a public assembly venue at 323 South Main Street. Mr. Shivers, may we have a presentation of the request?
Sure. Good evening, Commissioners. This special use permit application is for 323 South Main Street. Excuse me. The application is by Connect Church. On the property today, there is a 2-story structure with residential above. The first floor is currently vacant and has been vacant for some time. The property is zoned C2, Central Business District. C2 allows a mix of uses in our downtown area, including retail, restaurant, office, residential, and institutional uses. The proposed use tonight is public assembly venue, which is defined as an establishment that primarily provides sufficient space and facilities for more than 20 people to congregate for a singular purpose or event. Typical uses include public or private auditoriums, and specifically the next one, houses of worship. As part of this application, there is no new structures proposed. In the C2 district, there are no parking regulations. There is a good amount of on-street parking available along South Main Street, to the south side of this building along West Olive Avenue, to the west along South 40, and 1 block to the north there is a public parking lot that's rather large and owned by Butler County. The applicant is proposing to have around 50 people, give or take, congregate on Sunday mornings for their church services. The owner and builder of this building is currently working on plans with our building official to make some minor renovations to accommodate the church. And as you'll see in our memo, we believe that this is compatible with our downtown area and the existing uses in the area, and we're not expecting a major parking impact to our on-street parking, especially given the time of congregation. And so we are recommending approval of the special use permit. At this time, I'd like to invite the applicant up to talk a little bit more about the case.
Where's the bus come up?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
State your name and address for the record, please.
Bert Anderson, I live at 1810 Kendrick Lane here in El Dorado, Kansas.
Jared Williams, live at 1825 Hazlet Street here in El Dorado.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, tell us about your application, tell us about your plans.
Okay. We are with Connect Church. Jared Williams is our pastor. Caleb Marsh was going to be here with us tonight, but he had other reasons he couldn't be here. But just thank you for at least considering the special use permit. We've been meeting for a year to year and a half in a temporary spot that we knew would be temporary. And we're looking for a more permanent spot to lease, kind of longer term. And in that, Chris Garrison's building, the old Go Green building we became aware of it, and Chris was interested in remodeling and renting it. It had been sat empty for a number of years. So Chris began remodeling it, and kind of midway to 2/3 through that, we kind of became aware that there was a public assembly venue issue. And so we made application through Jay's office, and that's why we're here tonight. So we applied. We currently have about 10 families meeting, roughly 50 people on a Sunday morning from basically 10 to noon, probably there for 2.5 hours. Probably 10 to 12 vehicles is what kind of drives in each Sunday. Currently, that's our only meeting time, is Sunday mornings. Really don't have any, Jared may want to speak to this, but we really have no plans to really expand that anytime in the near future. We did, in the neighboring neighbors, property owners that Jay sent letters out to, we did take a couple hours, and the three of us did go around and just called on the businesses that were there. Probably out of those 16, we connected with about 11 of those, either in person, if it was a business that was open during the day. Some of them aren't really, don't have a business ongoing. So some of them were property owners, some of them were just businesses that were occupying the property. We made a few phone calls to people we couldn't connect with that we knew who the property owners were. And I guess from that, I kind of would pick out maybe what I would say is two general responses that I feel like we got that were pretty much across the board. One was people seemed genuinely glad that something was being done with that building, it was being remodeled, was going to be used again. I think it had sat empty for a number of years. They seemed to like the idea of a church being there. They were okay with that. The other thing was, of course, we're interested in if anybody was concerned about parking. I would say that given that our main meeting is Sunday mornings with no other real plans to expand that didn't have any reservations from the people we talked to. I did talk to a couple business owners that have a little trouble with people pulling in front of their drives, or like the chop shop, raw stump. Those aren't places that are marked to park, but people do. And so it was good. We're glad we went around because we were aware that, hey, we just need to make sure our group knows that, hey, we're not going to park on Main Street. Here's a couple places don't park near. The Salvation Army parking lot, just catty corner across Main, has given us their blessing to use that parking lot. There's 15 to 18 spots in that lot. And then, of course, the backside of half a block to the west along Gordy Park is, nobody really uses that. And then, of course, the city-county lot's just a block over. So I think as far as the parking goes, it seems like that we can what and when our use would be wouldn't interfere, so. And that seems to be the response we got from neighbors, so. You got anything to add to that, Jared, as far as?
We're just possibly excited to be able to get into a little more permanent spot. I think that'd be just good for everyone. And then, yeah, looking forward to just being a part of downtown. If you guys see fit to that, yeah, we're really excited to get in there and start using it whenever that time comes.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you both.
Appreciate it.
Stick close by, and we'll likely have some questions for you after the public hearing. All right, at this time, we would like to formally open a public hearing for this case. So, put the request out. Is anyone here to speak for or against this case at this time? Okay. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and proceed to discussion by the Planning Commission. One question I have, Mr. Shivers, with second floor residential use, do we need to stipulate the special use for the ground level space only?
It's certainly an option. My understanding is that the building owner wants to keep the second floor residential, so I don't know on one end if he's interested in doing those types of renovations in the future to expand the church, and I'm not sure if the applicant, it's an option, I don't have a good answer.
Okay.
I would leave that to the planning commission.
I guess to follow up with that, so you're saying if the special use permit is granted, that would include for the first and second floor automatically?
It would be for the building. I mean, we're speaking about the first floor. So we can make it more specific. That's not an issue at all, because the proposal is for just the first floor. So there'd be no problem to add on.
Okay.
I kind of would feel more comfortable if it was just the first floor, because now if you had the second floor, then, okay, what's going to happen? And then I think that the business people ought to get another opportunity to come up and say, well, okay, now they're going to fill the second floor. This is how we feel about it. I think it's a good project, but I don't know that I'm comfortable with granting the second floor as well.
Well, and they certainly have plenty of code hurdles to overcome through the building department when they get to that point.
Did you get anything back from the neighbors?
I didn't for either case tonight. In this particular case, I mailed it to every property owner within 200 feet. Not one call, not one email.
I don't know if this is for Mr. Anderson or Mr. Williams, but is the builder, and Mr. Garrison's not here? Are you going to provide living quarters in here, or do you want to step up to the mic, please, and I'll ask you, one of you, either of you.
I didn't
Are
catch
you,
the question.
what's going to be involved in this building? Is this construction will there be living quarters, restrooms, or kitchen? What's going to be in there?
2 classrooms near the back, 2 restrooms. And then the rest is really open. It's an open where we'd have church and worship area. There'd be a little kind of against one wall, we'd have like a coffee bar. That's about it. So 3/4 of the space would be open for like a worship hall, and then two relatively small classrooms, and then 2 bathrooms.
But no
We
one.
may partition an office off at some point. That would be temporary. Is that with temporary partition? Is that? Yeah.
But no one is kind of living there.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And we would have no interest in the second floor. I mean, that's just not part of what we're looking to do.
Right. Are you looking this being, you say, somewhat permanent? Is this permanent, or are you planning on looking, if you expand, you'll go somewhere else maybe? Is that a possibility, or you plan on staying there
Yeah, I think for the foreseeable future, this would be a place that we would like to call home. I think if we were to grow beyond belief, where we got to that point, of course, at that point, we would hopefully have some other funds coming in where we could actually look to actually build to our own specs. Right now, we're kind of forced into this model that the owner wants, which is fine. It's better than where we are now. But I would see this being, at least when we vision cast, at least 5 to 10 years down the road. So I don't know, does that answer your question?
So is the builder building this for your model, or are you adapting to his model? I mean, is this,
It's a little bit of both.
The classrooms, we requested 2 classrooms. And of course, the restrooms, no matter what you say, we're gonna need to be there. So, I would, yeah, just like Jared said, I think he tried to do what he could to meet our needs, but still keep it somewhat multi-purpose. That's the best way I could.
sure, thank you.
Yeah. While you two gentlemen are still up here, help me understand and appreciate praise and worship on a Sunday morning and the impact that would have, obviously, to the residents above.
We start meeting at 10 o'clock. It's whenever the families start coming in, shuffling in. At that point, we offer some coffee, some breakfast, kind of just mingle a little bit. And then right about 10:15 is when our actual praise and worship session starts. It normally consists of 3 to 4 songs. Nothing. We will have a sound system, but it's basically just to get the sound to fill the room, we're not trying to blow the doors off the place. That's never our goal. Right now, we have a very just acoustic set, just meaning actually just an acoustic guitar and vocals. And then after praise and worship, it wraps up, we split the kids off and do a kids time. And then we have adult Bible study where we just go, just through the word together. And it's more of a small group feel to that. So does that answer?
Yeah, it does. I'm concerned about it. For their sake, I certainly want you guys to have a place to land, place to be comfortable, place to worship. But I am concerned about the second floor being a residential use, a separate residential use. There's the natural code implications of fire rated separations, and I presume a sprinkler system will be required throughout the building. So those impacts are practical impacts that you can obviously work through, but keeping sound from impacting a residence on a Sunday morning. What I want to say is, they ought to be downstairs worshiping with you, but
That's our goal as well.
but I don't think we get to presume that to happen. And so, as you know, it's not going to. It's the measures you would have to take to keep that from being problematic. Again, I'm concerned, and they're a little less. The solution is a little less practical than even a fire sprinkler system and fire rated construction that separates the different uses. So some of those things are giving me pause, so it's good to hear from you directly about those things, and I'm curious to hear from the rest of the commission about that concern.
They did spray open cell and spray foam insulation for the second one. And of course, the fireproof sheetrock, but really have no idea what that's still gonna sound like upstairs, so. Other than our style of worship is not, I mean, it's not overly loud or, and don't see us going in that direction, yeah.
Is it just one service a Sunday?
Yeah.
But you do have amplifiers. You will use an amplifier. You have, what do you have, keyboard,
As far
piano?
Currently not,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right now we have one speaker, that we plug our guitar into, and then that's it, as far as the amplification goes.
but it's small enough I can carry it in if that helps, but who knows what it might look like in a year. So.
Any other reaction?
Jay, how many apartments are above right now?
I don't know how many deep.
I thought there was 6, but I think there's at least 4. It may be 4 instead of 6, I'm not really sure.
It's been years since I've been in there, and years ago, they were working on building out the residential spaces, and I remember, this was probably 5 or 6 years ago, even back then, they were talking about how the first floor was built to suit. They can find a tenant, they were willing to finish it out for whoever would rent it, so.
Is it being rented now by anyone? The
Downstairs?
upstairs? No, the upstairs.
The upstairs has residences, yeah, there's.
Did you
yes.
talk to any of them when you went around?
You know, we did not. I guess we would have had to go up and knock on doors, and we did not do that. Yeah. And they weren't on the list.
All right, any other thoughts, any other discussion?
Mr. Shivers, why were those people not on the list upstairs?
The state law that we follow for every case just says we notify property owners within 200 feet of the subject property.
Not tenants.
Right, so we use our GIS to.
Exactly, fair enough.
Yeah. And the property owner for this building is aware of this, so. And I don't know, do you know if he spoke with his tenants?
We don't, and obviously, that's something we should have been more proactive on. If nothing else, to see if he would have maybe contacted them. Yeah.
And we don't mind doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. As far as the sound, we would want to, I think we would do whatever we needed to be a good neighbor, but
Well, I think, and please understand, I'm rooting for you guys. I think my recommendation right now, I'll just make the motion. I would motion to table this case until you guys as applicants and the building owner could present these circumstances to those tenants. I think that's, it's what it's gonna take for me to get comfortable with,
sure.
with approving essentially a worship venue beneath a separate residential occupancy. And so,
What would you want that to look like? I mean, we could verbally, I hesitate just go up and knock on doors, but Chris could hopefully pave the way there. Would you want a questionnaire, something in writing? What would?
I don't know that I feel like I'm in a position to place a stipulation on how that's conducted, but I would certainly like an opportunity for those occupants to understand and appreciate what's happening firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
If that's a building, town hall style meeting, to talk with them and understand that, not in this venue, of course.
Right, sure.
And I guess I would appreciate a report or an accounting of that meeting and discussion next time we're together, assuming that the motion to table is passed.
Okay.
If it fails miserably here and we get a motion to make a decision, we'll do that accordingly. But I'm presuming that a time delay is something that you can manage.
We've been managing.
Yeah, we've been managing
Yeah.
so far. Yeah.
Well, I do have one question. What if there were a change in tenant? Is that something that that the property owner would need to maybe include in his leasing agreement, being he's the same owner of the first floor and second floor? Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, I think I know what you're asking.
how permanent does it need to be? Do we just need to seek approval of the ones who are there right now, or is this something that should be?
Well, yeah, and I don't know that it's seeking approval, just giving them an opportunity to know what's coming.
Okay.
You know,
I-
they,
Yeah.
I think a good start would be notifying them to be able to come and publicly speak. And then furthermore, from tenants at that point forward, it would be a matter of they are renting a
Yeah.
residence above a known
Yeah.
place of,
it'll be known and obvious then.
Right.
right.
Or certainly should be.
So
So
they would
yeah,
have the same opportunity to come at the next meeting, just like the property
Yeah.
owners.
Yes.
Okay.
you know, if this thing was being all developed and planned to open at the same time and new lease agreements for brand new tenants upstairs were coming in and understanding that it was a worship venue beneath, then you know that sort of falls under buyer beware in my opinion. But in this case, because it's already established as residential occupancy above, I would encourage that you seek input from them and that you report or give them an opportunity to give their input here, so that we can appreciate that they appreciate the impact that this could have on them at about 10:15 every Sunday morning.
Good.
Okay. All right. There's a motion to table.
I second it.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion to table? All right.
No, but I have a question for Mr. Shivers, but we want to go ahead and vote on your motion?
No, please go ahead and ask.
Oh, okay. Thank you, guys. You can sit down. Okay, Mr. Shivers, I have a question. It seems like our city and the core area of downtown, we seem to be leaning in the direction of more nonprofits all the time. Is that where we want to go with our downtown core area? Do we want to keep promoting nonprofits? We got nonprofits in every block downtown.
I think what you're referring to is more of a market issue.
Yes.
The zoning allows a lot of things. A lot of buildings have expensive upkeep and repairs that need to be done. So it comes down to building owners and the people willing to purchase and maintain or lease these spaces. I know our Economic Development Inc., El Dorado Inc. works hard to try to get these spaces filled. They've applied a lot of grants over the years for historic district grants, specifically for downtown building repairs and ways to bring businesses down. But I think that the overly simple answer is that's the way the market is right now. It's not a lack of trying to get more businesses, commercial, retail, restaurant type stuff downtown.
But our main street, our city, we don't have a certain quota on. We need to have so much retail, so much non-retail. We don't have anything in writing of that direction.
There's no specific stuff. It's usually just that group of uses. Our C2 is perfectly suited for downtown, and that's part of why this falls under a special use permit. The whole idea is that it may or may not be appropriate on this particular property. So it's not just outright allowed or outright prohibited by zoning. So that's why we're here. And that could be part of the discussion if there are too many. But if we have to discuss that there might be too many nonprofit organizations downtown, we also have to discuss the benefit of leaving suites open and the impact that'll have on owners being able to maintain buildings and eventually draw in other tenants that could come in. So
Just a thought on this, I'm thinking is the owner of the building, he is assuming some of the risk. If he,
Sure,
Because
sure.
he could lose tenants over this.
we had a similar issue this recently, and the core of that problem, one building next door being noisy and affecting residential tenants in the next door, the biggest issue there was there were two different owners.
Right.
I would hope in this case, regardless of the vote, that the owner of the building has a lot at stake in both the
He's
top
got
and
a lot of
bottom.
skin in the game on this.
He wants to lease his first floor out. He also doesn't want his residential tenants to leave. So he has, I think, a lot of skin in the game to make this work.
Absolutely.
If it's possible. And unfortunately, I don't think he can make it tonight, but it's a lot of pressure on him too. I believe he's been trying hard for many years to get this suite leased out. For a long time, I believe it was his workshop as he was working on renovating the upstairs apartments. So I think he's happy to have someone interested.
Okay. Any other discussion before our roll call vote? All right, we have a motion and a second to table this case until our next regularly scheduled meeting. Mr. Shivers, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Fellers,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Leeson,
Yes.
Commissioner Long,
Yes.
Commissioner Nichols,
Yes.
Chairman Stewart,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson.
Yeah.
The motion to table passes 7-0.
Thank you. And thank you both for your time and your attention tonight. All right. Our second case tonight is case number 21-06-SUP, public hearing for the consideration of a request for a special use permit for an accessory apartment at 1425 East 6th Avenue. Mr. Shivers, can we have a presentation of request, please?
Yes, sir. This property is outside El Dorado city limits. It is zoned AR, Agricultural Residential District. And a couple times a year, we have a case outside city limits. So as a refresher, the city has an agreement with Butler County to do the zoning and subdivision regulations for 3 miles around the city limits. As part of that agreement, any rezoning or special use permit first goes through Butler County Commission. Their role by agreement is to review the case and determine if it meets their long-term plans. On Tuesday this week, the applicant met with the Butler County Commission. They voted 5-0 to recommend approval of this special use permit. And that is the extent of their role in this case. If this is approved tonight, they will go directly to Butler County and seek their building permits and other permits they need directly from Butler County and have their subsequent inspections from them. To get back on track, this is a single-family home property. It has one detached garage on it today, approximately 30 by 40 square feet. The applicant is proposing to add a 25 by 50 foot addition for about 1,250 square feet. The special use permit is for what's called an accessory apartment by ordinance. That is defined as an accessory use residential unit that is located detached from a principal single-family residential unit. So to simplify that, it's typically just a second home or second living unit on a property. In our review, the proposed location does meet all of the setbacks. There is a floodplain for the Walnut River nearby. I have spoken with Butler County about the location. At this time, it looks like it is clear of the floodplain. They have rural water access and capacity at this location, and the applicant will also be working towards having a new wastewater treatment system installed, all of which will be reviewed and ultimately approved by Butler County. So our job tonight on this case is to approve the use of approving that second home at that location. It'll be Butler County that reviews these details, ensuring it's out of the floodplain, ensuring their wastewater systems will meet the requirements, and those finer details. With that said, the City of El Dorado does support this special use permit request. And at this time, I'd like to invite the applicant up to talk a little bit more about their application.
Mr. Shivers, as the applicants come forward, is Butler County in charge of adjacent property notification and all of those provisions in a case like this?
Good question. So we do all of the zoning, and that is a zoning requirement. So I did send notifications to all the property owners within 1,000 feet. It is not very many. There's a lot of agricultural land around there. So actually, to go back, we had started this back in April or May at a different location on this property, and I sent out notifications then. I didn't receive any feedback. We put it on pause. They proposed a new location that worked better. And once again, I didn't receive any phone calls, emails from any of the neighbors.
Okay, thank you. If you would state your name.
Eric
and address.
Barrier.
Okay. Tell us about your application, your request. what you're trying to do.
Okay, well, I was born and raised here in El Dorado and then moved over towards Benton. We've been over in Benton for 25 years and just recently sold our property and land over there in June. I've got aging parents, of course, like everybody, and my dad's had some real health issues the last few years. So we've been trying to figure out a way to get over here and help them stay relatively close to their home without having to buy something else. And their house was built in 1967, so it doesn't accommodate walkers, wheelchairs, and stuff like that. They talked temporarily about buying another property here in town, but to them, this is home. So with us selling that, we were talking about building, we had some land, 5 acres over by 60th and Folk Road, over by Augusta. We had already tore down an old farmhouse, did pad work and stuff, with provisions to build there. And then when they started talking about this, we thought doing the right thing, we'd come over and help mom and dad live out the rest of their life where they were the only place they've really known as a home. So they built a new detached garage, 30 by 40 garage back 5 years ago. Just a 10 structure, kind of a WIC building type setting. So we're just going to add on to the side of it, to the east side of it, make them a ground level apartment. It's all ADA accessible with wide doorways, wide hallways, handicapped toilets, stuff like that. They do try to go to Arizona 6 months out of the year when healthy. So they're right now, may not make it there this year, but for sure we want to get this going so we hopefully stay out there and kind of let them live out their latter years there where they're at, so they're home. So
Okay. So it's your parents that
it's my
own
parents.
this property?
Yep. And what we're going to do is build them an apartment, then take their house, remodel their house, and we'll move into their house and do a little addition on the back of that and stay there and kind of be there permanently now, make that kind of our final house too.
Okay.
So, well, like I said, we went to the county commission on Monday morning. They approved everything. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you. If you'll stay close by,
Sure.
we'll proceed accordingly. All right. At this time, we will formally open the public hearing for this case. At this time, if there's anyone here to speak regarding this case, now is the time to come forward. Sir, come forward, please. State your name and address for the record, please, if you would.
Joe Clark, 1255 East 6th Avenue.
Okay.
I'm not against anybody building anything. It's just we've got a severe drainage problem down there. When it get a lot of rain because of the agricultural, it's all coming towards the houses instead of off to the side. And it just fills my lawn up with all the corn debris and everything. And I run lawnmower after lawnmower after lawnmower. And just aggravating. And I don't know, exactly what they're wanting to build. I don't want to stop them from building anything. But if it's going to be close to the road where the ditch is, that side really needs, both sides needs ditched out really bad. So we can get some proper drainage. So if there's going to be anything close to the ditching area, that's only my concern.
Okay.
So you probably haven't seen the site plan. Back in April and May, I'd worked with the applicants, and their first proposal was much closer to the road, probably in an area that you're describing. This is their second version, and it's much farther back, around 72 feet or so from the road. Are you aware of any issues going that far back in this area?
No, just as long as, if it comes to it where, there's plenty of room to get some better, I don't expect a humongous ditch, but some to get better drainage, because it all should drain down towards that end and go down into the river, and it all just kind of goes the other direction.
Sure.
I mean, where does the water come from? I'm not following you here. Where's your drainage?
The agricultural land.
Across the north?
To the north, yes.
Okay, and
it all drains towards the houses.
There's not a ditch between the crops and the
but
road?
It's not kept up, and it's all silted in. They did try to do something with it here a while back, but we haven't had a big enough rain to see if that's going to alleviate.
The water runs across the road?
Yes.
Even when there are crops, or not, I mean, when they're, like right now, there's
crops there.
Yeah.
But we, whenever, let's say, my problem is whenever the crops get cut down and
Right.
stuff, all the leftover, the stuff that's on the ground, and then we get a really big rain for several hours, and then that ditch that's right there by it is just not enough.
Right.
And it starts coming across the road.
Is that road maintained by the county or the township or,
Township, I believe.
don't know?
Not the city. I'm not sure.
Not the city.
El Dorado Township, I'm not sure.
Well, and really the quick answer is, I don't see that this request by this applicant is going to have any contribution to your concern. Would you agree with that?
Excellent.
Okay,
As long as,
so,
you know,
Have you visited with Eric one-on-one and talked about what he's
talked to
doing?
him a little bit, and I think I said something about it, you know, hopefully the township can get something done about it, but yeah, I don't know.
No.
Don't know
Okay.
if there's-
You have or you haven't?
No, we talked a little bit, but
We talked about our original proposal, back in April. We haven't talked since this one, though. But then we're only going out 4 feet further than what the existing structure is right now, so the garage structure, so we're not changing anything close to the road.
okay.
that's-
Anything else?
That was my only concern, is just the drainage, you know, and if we got too close, you know, I didn't know exactly what he wanted to do. So,
Okay,
that's my only concern. I don't, if he wants to build a mansion out there, bring it on.
all right. Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Thank you.
Mr. Shivers, are you able to rotate that drawing 180 degrees?
Not easily.
Okay.
You're right. And
You have
and
to turn the podium over.
If it's helpful, you have the full size ones in your packet. I was trying to just get something to show. Part of the reason it's zoomed in is because once you get the whole sheet on there, it just gets hard to read from the distance.
Yeah, I'm just trying not to
Yeah.
have to curl up in the corner and convulse because I
Yeah.
have to reorient north, up and down,
I know.
depending on which slide you're on.
Yeah, 6th is at the very bottom of the site plan on the screen, yeah.
Eric, can you step up to the podium again for us? Yeah.
We're still in the public hearing, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just be advised, you're welcome to come on up.
Okay.
But if we're headed to discussion, we'll
Okay.
likely close the public hearing and then
Please do.
proceed. Will that be all right?
Yep.
Okay. Seeing that unless you'd like to come up and contribute public comments, at this time, we will close the public hearing for this case and open with discussion by the Planning Commission. Commissioner Long, take it away.
Well, okay, looks like you've had an architect do this.
Nope, I did that myself.
You did this yourself, so we don't know about elevation.
Elevation will be the same as the garage. It's the same height as the garage, because the garage, actually it's gonna be, the back will be the same height, and then there'll be a little tiny retaining wall off the driveway, because the garage actually slopes a little bit forward for drainage. We're gonna make this all level, the apartment, so it's the same elevation as the garage.
But you do have a formal declaration that it is outside of any floodplain
Sure.
or floodway.
Yes, yeah, and that, we talked to that with David Alfaro up there, all that, all the permitting stuff's gonna go through them, there'll be a retaining wall on the back side of it, and all that to keep it out of the floodplain, so.
Okay.
Because it looks like it's very close to the riverbank, so.
Yeah, all those properties out there are close to
It's,
Riverbank, yeah.
but is this a more elevated area or something to where the water's not coming out at this point, or?
Well, the chances of us flooding out there are probably slim to none. I mean, the reservoir was built in 1980-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood, and it was built specifically for flood control. So we are the first property on the river, so everything that comes out of the lake comes right behind us. So in the Corps of Engineers controls all that. So if we flood there, there's going to be severe problems in El Dorado, everywhere from 6th Street, basically on north up past 12th Street is going to be flooded. Augusta will be flooded before we flood there because it's all got to back up that way. So theoretically, never say never, but theoretically we'll never flood there because it's all controlled by the Corps.
Yeah, and the designation of those floodplains and floodways and those boundaries, they're there to give those assurances to property owners and development, so. Other questions for Mr. Barrier? Okay, thank you. Other discussion by the commission? If there's no other discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I move to recommend approval of case number 20-06-SUP, a request by Eric Barrier for a special use permit to allow an accessory apartment on the property located at 1425 East 6th Avenue for the reasons set forth in the staff recommendations and heard at the public hearing.
Okay, we have a motion
I'll second it.
and we have a second. Thank you both. Mr. Shivers, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Fellers,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Leeson,
Yes.
Commissioner Long,
Yes.
Commissioner Nichols,
Yes.
Chairman Stewart,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
The motion to recommend approval passes 7-0.
All right, thank you very much. And remind me, these cases from the county do go to the city commission as well
That is correct, yes.
for their determination?
It'll be the third Monday of October. So yeah, Butler County's main role is right up front by agreement. They go to the county commission, they have that discussion and vote, and then that's the limit of their input. So when the city commission reviews it, they'll look at the minutes in this meeting before vote, as well as what was discussed at Butler County Commission.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Shivers, do we have any old business?
No old business.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
All right, staff items then, please.
Yep, just a couple. At our meeting long ago in the spring, we had 4 agenda items. Just to recap those, at 525 West 5th, you guys recommended approval of a rezoning and a special use permit for assisted living facility. City Commission did pass all of those, and that guy is he's in the planning process of getting that going. You guys approved the Deer Run plat, also approved by City Commission. They're working on their infrastructure plans right now, as I understand it. And last but not least, you guys also recommended approval of a rezoning of a portion of the El Dorado Business Park. That was approved by City Commission as well. And the last thing, we discussed it briefly at our last meeting, is about once a year, we informally elect a chair and vice chair position. The vice chair is just there to take over if the chairman can't make a meeting for some reason. I think last time we had decided to kind of table this because we had a couple missing members that couldn't attend. Tonight, I believe we're only missing one member, and that's Commissioner Hackler. He is out of state tonight. So if you guys would like to discuss that, do some informal motions and voting, we can do that, or we can table it to maybe next month and hope that maybe we have everyone here. It's whoever you guys would like to do.
Well, what's your pleasure, gentlemen?
I say we move on and elect our chairman and vice chairman this evening. We've got, 2, 4, 7 out of 8?
Yep.
7 out of 8.
Yep, only one.
I think we were looking at maybe 5 out of 8 or 7 last time we considered this,
I think
which is
so.
why we felt it was appropriate to hold off, but, all right. Nominations for chair.
I nominate Commissioner David Stewart.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Or, I mean, if you'd like to throw objects, that's also, I mean, I would understand, I'm just.
Do you want to continue the job?
Just so long you promise to be here every night.
I'd be happy to do it as long as I get the chance to bust Commissioner Long's chops by making him vice chairman, so that I can strategically be absent, just to spite him. So,
Well, you know how to get a man's vote, that's all I can say.
yeah. No, I'd be happy to do it. Would be my pleasure. So, with that, I guess all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I would entertain nominations for vice chair.
I think Mr. Commissioner Hughes would be excellent. Has vast knowledge, reads his book, knows what's going on. So I would formally nominate Commissioner Hughes.
You know, I actually have a Hot Rod magazine in here that I'm looking at.
What year? What edition? All right, we have a motion to consider Commissioner Hughes. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Commissioner Hughes, do you have any objections to this nomination?
Well, I would hope I could fulfill it. I mean, never been a chairman before or anything, so.
Well, I like your chances for what that's worth. All right, any other discussion? With that, all those in favor of Commissioner Hughes as vice chair, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. All right, we have a chair and a vice chair moving forward. Thank you all. Any other staff items, Mr. Shivers?
No other items.
All right, with that, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed can stick around and do whatever they want,
Good idea.
because the rest of us are leaving.